nice.
Greetings YouTubers, Grimmy Dragon here, and today we are taking a look at the Transformers Combiner Wars Deluxe Wave 4 and Legends Rodimus, just because I can. Yeah, the latest wave of Transformers Combiner Wars is here. Technically the final wave of the 2015 line, with the only one really left being Battle Core Optimus Prime, which is pretty much just not Nova Prime. But yeah, I haven't gotten the Battle Core figure yet, but we do have the first wave Optimus, and he will work just fine for this review. But as you can see, it's time we gotta look at these five guys, and see how they look. Okay, so we're gonna get this review started off with my least favorite of the five, and that's Hot Rod, or Rodimus, whatever you want to call him. Vehicle mode looks okay, but I really don't like this vehicle for Hot Rod. You know, given how much he has an impact on More Than Meets the Eye comics and, the character, I think he deserves better than this kind of Legends figure. I loved it for Blackjack, and I would love to see it for, like, Crasher or someone else. I mean, Takara is actually making Runabout with it. So, yeah, I mean, there are better ways to use this mold than Hot Rod. So, but, yeah. Enough of that. As you can see, it is done in this nice metallic burgundy plastic. It actually has a metal swirl to it, which is nice. I like the metallic windows and windshield. I think that looks good. Flame's nice, but it doesn't have the Autobot symbol on it, which is a bit of a letdown. And the spoiler is nicely done for the vehicle mode. That doesn't do too well in the robot mode, but we'll get into that later. And sadly, the hubcaps are not painted. But for a vehicle this size, I'm not too worried about it. For quick comparison, let's just bring in on Blackjack. Don't know why I wanted to call him off-road for a minute there, but whatever. As you can see, it's pretty similar, same vehicle, repaint, And yeah, I think the spoiler piece goes better on Rodimus than it does on Blackjack. Although I do like Blackjack a little bit better. Still, at least we get a Rodimus, I guess. Been a while. But on to the next figure, and that will be... Well, let's bring in Mirage. As you can see, is his classic Formula 1 racer. A repaint of Drag Strip. And yes, the hand-foot gun can actually go onto the top via this peg and this little port. That looks okay. I like the silver on the hand-foot guns. I think that looks really nice. And good thing is that it's on the spoiler for Mirage too. Now it does a good job of representing Mirage in vehicle mode. Nice big Autobot symbol at the front with the 62 and the Circuit Racing logo on the sides. Really nicely done. I like the blue and white paint job. Very clean, very nice. I do enjoy it. And I also enjoy the painted hubcaps, which is great. Now, fortunately, this one does not roll too well, which is a sad thing. Mainly it's just that it feels like these front wheels don't quite hit the ground. Which is a bit bothersome, but that's how it is, I guess. Now for a quick comparison, bring in Drag Strip, who has the Hasbro stickers on him, so, but still, side by side you can tell they're the same vehicle, but they are different enough that I really do like them both, and I think that the paint jobs really do a good job of separating the two. So it works out. It really does work out. Add decals that from the Hasbro, like Asia set, really helps out a bit too. So that's. I do like these both. Yeah, I think it works out pretty well. So moving on, we'll go to Prowl. And someone just fell over. I'll get to that later, but don't worry. But yeah, Prowl here, who's a real nice police car, repaint of Protectobot Streetwise. So at least he's not a Stunticon, I guess. Although Streetwise was a retool of Dead End and Wild Rider, just done up to look like a police car. And Prowl does a good job of doing that police car a bit. And again, the hand-foot gun. His has the least amount of integration, since it just fits on the top like that. Again, nice silver. But, yeah, Prowl looks really good in his vehicle mode. Looks like Prowl should. Has that black and white look. Although, much like Dead End and Wild Rider, he has that annoying piece that cannot be painted and is molded in one of the colors that is actually shown here. The only one who has managed to escape this is Streetwise, and only barely. But yeah, that is annoying like always. Otherwise, paint job's pretty nice. Nothing on the back, sadly, but you got that nice stripe at the bottom. Goes all the way through the front. You got these nice silver headlights. A good old red light bar. And metallic blue windows, which look great. I do like this one. So let's bring in Streetwise, who is more of an off-white compared to Prowl, and has blue instead of black. That's about all the differences between them, and the windshields are different. So yeah. Basically, they just look like two different police cars. And it's really makes Prowl feel like the most unneeded repaint of the bunch. And I hate to say it since he has such a big role in the Combiner Wars series. But he does feel kind of unnecessary as far as this repaint goes. But yeah, we'll get more into that later. So next up, we're getting into the ones I really like. And yeah, this would be Ironhide next. As you can see, the hand-foot gun becomes the engine block on the back, but pops off just as easy. But Ironhide is a real nice looking truck. I mean, this really feels like it would be Ironhide. Nice little mix between the movie and the G1. And I think it works out wonderfully. Because I love that red. That is a real nice red for Ironhide. Got these nice metallic windshield and windows. Well painted. Got that classic yellow stripe. Nice gunmetal grille. Gunmetal hubcaps. Gunmetal bumper. They painted his bumper at least. More than I can say for any of the others. Wish they did the tail lights, but you know, I'll forgive it because they gave me something. And a decent little Autobot symbol on the front. Works for me. But yeah, he looks really good, and I do like this. Not as panely or completely wild as the Universe 2.0 Ironhide. And he transforms so much easier, too. You know, that's a big deal. But I do like this Ironhide. I think this mold was really good for him. But let's bring in the what he was repainted from, and that would be Off-Road, who's got Wild Rider's color scheme still. But yeah, I mean, all in all, it's a toss-up between this because I like Wild Rider. I like that this guy has that color scheme to him, but I think Ironhide is a little bit better for vehicle mode in this case. So there's that. I'd say Ironhide just barely beats out Off-Road. So yeah. Take it as you want. I like Ironhide a little bit better. But in any case, we got one more to look at. And that would be my favorite of the wave, Sunstreaker. And man, this is a good figure. It looks so good. I love how the hand-foot gun becomes that classic Sunstreaker engine block. I mean, that's perfect. I was very excited by it when Breakdown came out. And got to try that out on him, and it was, you know, I've already had heard that Sunstreaker was going to be the repaint, and I was more and more excited when I saw how that hand-foot gun interacted. So this, he has the best hand-foot gun interaction of the entire series. Yeah, I mean, he's the best of the entire series, hands down. Sunstreaker wins that. Because it looks really good on his vehicle mode. You know, Breakdowns is purple on a white car, and it doesn't work so well. Silver on a yellow car works great. Okay, enough gabbing about that. Let's see the paint job, and this is Sunstreaker, so it has to be good, or he will throw a fit. But yeah, you got that nice little bit of black at the bottom. Looks like there's a tiny bit of unpaintable plastic by the tire, but since it's so close to the tire, it's not really all that noticeable. We got that nice bit of red at the back. Looks really good. Beautiful paint on the windshield and windows. And lovely silver paint on the hubcaps and headlights. And then you got that beautiful Autobot symbol. Looks great. Back, unsurprising, nothing. You know, you got two. I'd love them to actually paint those tail lights red. I'm sure they were worried they would blend with the red on the sides. But yeah, Sunstreaker looks great. I can't help but gush over it. I really like this one. And you know the problems that the robot mode has, too. So, and I still think he's the best of the wave. So you know that I really like him. So let's get the comparison out of the way and compare him to Breakdown. And again, this is one where I think they're even. Because while the hand-foot gun integration works better for Sunstreaker, the overall car mode works great for them both since they were both Lamborghini Countaches. So the same car, it works great for either one, and I'm quite happy with both of them. I think both would be great. I mean, I love the Stunticons, so yeah, they automatically are high up for me. But yeah, Sunstreaker I'd say is pretty even with Breakdown, so either one will be good. I'd go for both. But that's enough gushing about the vehicle modes. Let's get them into robot mode and see how they look there. Okay, and now we'll once again start off with Hot Rod. It's looking alright. It's not, like I said, it's not a bad figure. I just don't think it's a good figure for Hot Rod, or Rodimus. Yeah, I keep calling him Hot Rod, I'm sorry. That's what I grew up with. But the colors are right, except for the chest, which has the blue on it instead of that flame detail which is on his back. That's a bit of a detriment right there because that's a trademark part of his look. You may also notice that the spoiler is now an axe instead of going on his back, losing another trademark look. I mean, I will give him credit. That head is very nice. It is very nice looking, and is the most Rodimus thing about the whole figure. Another thing is that he's kind of small for Rodimus, as Mirage will demonstrate. He's about, given that he's a legend size, he's kind of on the tiny side. This is okay for Blackjack, who was an entirely separate character, not very well known, but we're talking about Rodimus, Optimus Prime's successor. I think he deserves at least a deluxe class. But, yeah, that aside, it's a decent Rodimus figure. Not exactly meant to go with your deluxes and Voyagers, though. Even though he combines with them. That's something we'll get into later. But for another comparison, let's bring in Blackjack. As you can see, they go along pretty well. But, you know, I like the mold. I just don't like it for Rodimus. I'm sorry, I just can't help it. But it's a decent mold. Would be great for a Fembot or Femcon, especially with the side profile as it is. But for Rodimus, it doesn't work. But articulation's okay. You got the left, right at the head, ball jointed shoulders, very tight. Got a little inward movement as well. Swivel and hinge at the elbow, 90 degrees. Got like ball jointed hips and ball jointed knees. So he's fairly posable. So that's a decent figure at least. I'm just not fond of it being Rodimus, that's all. Okay, enough of the downer stuff on this. Let's bring in the next figure. Kind of saw him a minute ago. And that is Mirage. And he's a decent looking figure. It's an interesting one at least. The colors are right. Like he has that nice blue and white mix. Although they're not perfect. But we'll get into that later. But first the head sculpt. Very nice. Very nicely done. That is a gorgeous head from Mirage. The rest of the body's looking pretty good as well. Nice mix of blue and white. And all in all, very nicely done. Getting articulation right now. Head's on a ball joint, but he is very, very tight. Ball jointed shoulders. Bicep swivel. Hinged elbow, a little bit more than 90, which is good. He has a waist. Ball jointed hips. They're supposed to be thigh swivel, but they're painted. The thighs are painted, so it's kind of hard to actually get it to move. But the joint is there. You got a little less than 90 at the knees. And if you want to count it, a little forward movement at the feet. But it snaps in very tightly though. But yeah, Mirage looks pretty good. But there is one thing that kind of throws him off from the more classic look for Mirage. And that is that the front of the racer is on his back instead of being his chest. You know, you're going to find that with all of these Combiner Wars versions of the characters, there's going to be something that will set it apart from the G1 and the Classics versions. That's a common theme with all of them. And for the most part, it's not horrible, but it can be annoying on certain characters. But for Mirage, let's bring in a couple comparisons. First one being obviously drag strip. So you can see the differences in the mold really do... Well, there's no differences in the mold actually. They're the exact same mold, I'm sorry. Differences in the paint really make a difference. Not to mention this one has the Hasbro decals, which actually make more of a difference. But the paint jobs really help define the characters, like burgundy and yellow really work for drag strip, while the blue and white work great for Mirage. So I think they will work pretty well together. You want to just keep them in robot mode for whatever reason. And for another comparison, we'll bring in the Classics Mirage, who is a lot closer to his G1 counterpart than the Combiner Wars version. It's also one of the best molds of the Classics line, so there is a lot of good reason not to replace this guy with this guy. He's good if you never got him, but if you do have this one, I can't recommend replacing him with the Combiner Wars version. And that's it. I do like them both, and yeah, there is a fan mode out there where you take the arms off, switch them around, and then turn their waist around to get that card chest on the front. But I don't think it's going to work out for me, so I'm not going to bother with that. So yeah, that should cover about my feelings on Mirage. So why don't we get on to the next figure, which would be Prowl. And yeah, okay, I will stand a little bit on the corrected side when I said that Prowl felt like he was unnecessary. His robot mode looks awesome. I mean, not perfect, but really, really awesome. And the paint job goes very far in making him look as G1 as you can with a mold that's a little different from his G1 self. I mean, because first let's take a look at that head. And that really does look like Prowl. And it is a really good Prowl head sculpt, looks great. I love how the chest is painted to look like the front of the car. That really helps. I mean, that helps goes a long way to making this feel like a good Prowl toy. No, it works out really nice. It is a good representation for the character. I'm not fond of the white shotgun though. I still think Streetwise got the better shotgun, but then again, Prowl got the better hand-foot gun. That silver works very well for him. But there aren't too many who are going to have the hand-foot gun out while he's in robot mode. And these are the kind of guys you want to keep, you could think about keeping in robot mode, because while the combined form is cool, it's not usually what people think about when they think combiners. With that said, let's get a comparison in for Prowl and Streetwise. And you can see the different shades of white that are used on these guys again. So, I mean, Prowl is a much brighter white than Streetwise is. And it shows quite obviously. To be honest, I would have loved it if Streetwise pretty much got Prowl's paint job instead of the one he got, because I really think Prowl turned out better than Streetwise. And this really looks a lot nicer than this one does. And that's my personal opinion. But, yeah, I'd say Prowl turned out better, although Streetwise got the better weapon. You know, better painted weapon at least. Still, I like it. And this is one of the better molds of the whole Combiner Wars line too, so Prowl really got lucky. Since he is one of the best of the whole group. But you got a ball jointed head, ball jointed shoulders, bicep swivel, hinge at the elbow, waist, ball jointed hips, thigh swivel, knee bends a little bit more than 90. So very posable, Very nice figure. The feet are big and thick, so he will hold a pose very easily. So I like it. Works great. So let's get him. Let's get a look at him with his last incarnation for classics, which was the Universe 2.0 Prowl, who seems to be using the same off-white that Streetwise was using. Oddly enough, but as you can see, despite how awesome this Prowl looks, this one's still closer to what the G1 had. Which is understandable. This one was more directly geared to that G1 appeal, while this one was pretty much a repaint just to get the most out of the mold. Still, like Mirage, if you can't get a hold of this guy is a really good choice. I know they're doing a smoke screen of him. I hope they do Blue Streak as well, because I think all three of them would look great in these colors. Well, in this mold. But in any case, let's get these guys out of the way. And we're going to get into one of my favorites. Not my absolute favorite, but the second favorite of this wave. And that would be Ironhide, who, again, looks really cool. A lot of details I like in this guy. Let's get and look at that head first. And that is a real nice Ironhide head. That looks really good. So much better than the Universe 2.0 head. It is a big improvement. As you can see on the torso, the paint really made an effort to replicate the G1 window chest, although it couldn't get around the big combiner bit on the middle. Although I do like the belt buckle. Having an Autobot symbol for a belt buckle is real sweet, real cowboy-like, so it fits Ironhide perfectly. You know, that is a real good touch. I love that. But as far as the rest of the paint job goes, it really does a good job of bringing out Ironhide. Kind of wish the hands were painted black, although you can't really see them with all the weapons, but yeah, they're just red like the rest of the arm. But that's a minor nitpick at best. I mean, they got the rest of them pretty much right, so yeah, good job, Hasbro. You really made a real nice Ironhide here. So we'll get a quick comparison with the previous user of this mold, and that's Off-Road, whose chest decal is starting to already wear, which is unfortunate. But we'll move on. To be honest, I really think Ironhide did a lot better with this mold than Off-Road did. I mean, much like Prowl, I think the repaint turned out better than the original. Just a little sad, but it is still very good. And since I have Breakneck, I don't really need Off-Road for Menasor, so it's good to have a mold that I can have readily available. No, I do like this Ironhide. We'll get into articulation. You got a ball jointed head, ball jointed shoulders, bicep swivel 90 degree at the elbow, Waist swivel works a lot better than what Off-Road had. His waist was almost fused to, well, actually was fused to the rest of his torso. But you got ball jointed hips, thigh swivel, and a hinge at the knee for about 90. So, again, posability is really good. And he looks really cool. Now for a quick comparison, we'll bring in that mess that was Universe Ironhide, or Smurf Face Ironhide. And now, while this one is a little bit more G1 accurate, at least in mold, probably would be better off trying to get that specialist version of Ironhide, but in the meantime this is okay. But he looks so much better. I mean, he looks so much nicer. I'm still tempted to switch this one out for, switch this one out for this one on my classic shelf because he looks so much better than he does. And I would love if the first aid mold got repainted into Ratchet to match. Because having them both like that would be sweet. Okay, but yeah, I think it's time we got to my favorite of the whole set. And that is actually, quite surprisingly, Sunstreaker. The guy with the hip problem is still my favorite because he looks so awesome in this style. I mean, this is a really good Sunstreaker figure. And he's only had another, one more figure to really speak of. Well, aside from G1 itself, which was the Universe figure. And I'm just going to bring it in because, yeah, I mean, it's hard to pick a favorite here. Because this one is really cool. Once again, he has the very best integration of the hand-foot gun out of the entire series of Combiner Wars. So he gets points for that. And he gets points for really looking like Sunstreaker. And you can really feel that narcissistic Autobot in this toy, which is great. And despite having these strange hips, he still looks really good and poses excellently. And there isn't much I can really complain about with Sunstreaker. I think he turned out wonderful. Yeah, I mean, the only real complaints is the way that this sticks out a little bit at the back, and that hip problem. But other than that, next to perfect. I mean, he is awesome. Now, it's hard to say which one I like better between the Universe and the Combiner Wars, honestly. Just because this one's a little bit taller, still does everything he needs to do, and he goes so well with Sideswipe. This one, you can tell he's going to be a little bit shorter than Sideswipe is since he uses the same body as this Sunstreaker. Well, it's not like I couldn't see them going together pretty well anyway. So it's a toss-up between the two. He also has the shiniest gun of all of them. That really nice shiny Hasbro silver. But let's get into articulation. ball jointed head, ball jointed shoulders, hinge, and ball joint at the elbow. So you got rotation below the elbow, which will act as the bicep swivel and possibly wrist, depending on how you handle it. It's got the waist. It's got those funny hips, but he also has the regular ball jointed hips. Thigh swivel. 90-degree knee bend. Oh yeah, and the arms are pretty much double jointed, so he gets the most movement out of the arms. And I do like it. Yeah, I really do like him. Now for a quick comparison, let's bring in Breakdown, who does look good in this mold. Sunstreaker looks better, but I do like them both. And I'll be honest with you, this whole wave is a lot more solid than I gave it credit for, which is good news. And I'm really appreciative that it was made. So let's get the team together for one more comparison. Get Mirage in there. And Ironhide. And oh yeah, we gotta have Prowl. Get them all in frame. And then Rodimus. So as you can see, they really do go well together. And they might not be officially a team, but they look like a team. So I think this is a solid set. Now they're set to combine with the Battle Core version of Optimus. Again, I don't have that one. But since it is just a direct repaint of the more standard Combiner Wars Optimus Prime, I should be able to give you a comparison and see how the sizes would go, while at the same time proving that these guys would go great with that particular Optimus. As you can see, he scales quite well with them. Well, except for him, he's too short. He is the chest minion of the group. And while these guys were pretty much advertised to combine with that Battle Core Optimus, they will combine with this one just as easily. So why don't we bring them together and see how Ultra Prime looks. So now we have Ultra Prime in all his glory. Yeah, it's kind of obvious that this is pretty much a repaint of Menasor. Yeah, there's really no way around it. It's kind of an homage to the G1 episode of Masquerade, where the Autobots had to disguise themselves as the Stunticons to learn what Megatron was planning. But this isn't even the right cast. I believe Optimus was accurate to it, and Mirage was obviously in there. Sunstreaker, Prowl, and Ironhide were not. I think it was like Sideswipe, Windcharger, probably Blue Streak for the 4th Stunticon. I don't know for certain. It's been a long time since I've seen that episode last, but yeah. There is a loose reference to Masquerade. There's also kind of a loose reference to Energon. Because Energon Optimus had a red fire truck or an orange fire truck, a blue submarine, a yellow drill tank, and a white helicopter. So you get Alpha Bravo on this, you're even closer to that Energon homage, which is kind of accentuated when you take the Rodimus chest minion off and see the Energon spark right there. So yeah, big homage. But yeah, Rodimus just pegs into Optimus's chest, not very securely. Yeah, he'll fall off if you shake him. But yeah, honestly, I'm not too fond of that look anyway. This is a little bit better, just having the chest closed and having everything out. Now this orientation is more based off of his appearance in the Transformers Combiner War comic books, which were in there. Prowl managed to get a hold of the Enigma of Combination and combined with the other Autobots to face off against Devastator, Menasor, Superion, and Defensor. And get everything under control. Or was it just Superion and Menasor and Devastator? I can't remember if it's exactly. But in any case, yeah, they've combined. And in the comics, it was actually this particular Optimus that was used. Later issues had him with the white head from the white version, but yeah, basically combined with this. And the limbs combined just fine. You know, there's no problems. It works just like Menasor did. Got the same articulation. And so there's no difference there. A little different is for this formation you actually have Mirage as the leg and Sunstreaker as the arm. So, and when we bring in Menasor for a comparison, who has perfect effect parts and different orientation to his legs. You can see he's a little taller, but you can also see that you got drag strip and breakdown in opposite positions from Sunstreaker and Mirage. But you know, that's pretty much a small thing since you can flip them around as you see fit. But another thing that shows here is that how much the perfect effect feet actually affect Menasor and the orientation of the legs as well, because Menasor is actually a bit taller than Optimus, and that's odd considering they're pretty much using the same molds. Although, yeah, Menasor is using 2 dead-end molds instead of a dead-end off-road, but you know, that's the way it is, so whatever. It looks good. Now they did make a perfect effect set for Optimus, which might be worth looking into, at least for the feet and maybe the cod piece as well to help him stabilize. But yeah, there you have Ultra Prime, and he's looking pretty good.
Greetings YouTubers, Grimmy Dragon here, and today we are taking a look
at the Transformers Combiner Wars Deluxe Wave 4 and Legends Rodimus, just because I can. Yeah, the latest wave of Transformers Combiner Wars is here. Technically the final wave of the 2015 line, with the only one really left being Battle Core Optimus Prime, which is pretty much just not Nova Prime. But yeah, I haven't gotten the Battle Core figure yet, but we do have the first wave Optimus, and he will work just fine for this review. But as you can see, it's time we gotta look at these 5 guys and see how they look.